The movie starts off with this young teenager waking up to a TV show about superpowers. As he goes about his morning routine, the young man, Akiyama Shintaro, starts wondering how awesome life would be if he had superpowers. Then it's revealed that Akiyama is a lazy college student living with his parents, and has always led the good life, cause his father is a board member of a well-known company. Now later on that day, while traveling to school, Akiyama wishes for teleportation or telekinesis powers, so he doesn't have to take public transport anymore. On his way to the train station, he sees a girl accidentally drop her purse. Akiyama quickly goes to grab the purse and returns it to the girl, but her beauty strikes him and he simps out immediately by accidentally introducing himself. The girl then awkwardly thanks him and leaves. Akiyama curses his luck and wishes he had the power to attract as many girls as he wishes. Oh man, those powers are called Riz. In the train, Akiyama gets annoyed with the overcrowdedness, and he's unable to get a seat. But suddenly that train reaches a station and comes to a screeching stop. This causes Akiyama's hand to loosen its grip on the railing and he falls to the ground. Shockingly, when a kind man goes to wake Akiyama up, he finds out that he can see the passengers' destinations on their heads. However, he's just thinking he's lightheaded and ignores it. After getting all bandaged up, Akiyama goes to school and meets up with his best friend, Nobu. Akiyama shares what happened to him in the train, but Nobu doesn't believe him and asks him to use his powers on him. But unfortunately, Akiyama doesn't see anything on his friend's head, and Nobu tells him to go to class. After school, Akiyama heads home by train again, but is delighted when he sees passengers' destinations again on their heads. He's trying to use his new ability to figure out which passenger is about to exit the train, so that he can get their seat when they do. Akiyama thinks he's received these powers so that he can slack on trains. Well, I don't know if you'll be the next Avenger with those powers. Now the next day, Akiyama shows off these powers to Nobu, and his friend finally believes him. As they're walking back, Nobu complains about his job interviews and wishes he could have the ability to read an interviewer's mind, as this would help him ace his meetings and get a job. However, Akiyama ignores those comments and continues talking about himself. The following day, Akiyama finds himself unable to see a certain man's destination. This baffles him, because it's never happened before. However, he doesn't think much of it and heads back home. Now at home, his mother tells him that he has to attend an interview in the next few days organized for him by his father at his company. His mom tells him that all he needs is to attend the interview to get the job, but Akiyama finds her annoying and doesn't say much, heading up to his room. So the following day, Akiyama encounters the man from before on the train, and once again he can't see his destination. The man soon alights and Akiyama decides to follow him. As he is following him, Nobu calls him and tells him about his interview that day. Just then he hears a scream all of a sudden and heads towards it, but he's horrified to find out that the man he was following earlier had just taken his own life. Traumatized, Akiyama quickly runs home and calls his best friend to tell him what happened. So the next morning, Akiyama hesitates to go into the train because he's afraid of seeing another person with no destination, but he ends up boarding a train anyways as he goes to school. Now on the train, Akiyama's worst fears come true as he comes across the girl from earlier with no destination. However, he decides to not do anything and watches the girl leave the train. Later that day, he checks his phone and then sees a news article about a teenage girl who had assassinated herself at the train station. This saddens him. Just then, Nobu arrives and complains about another failed attempt at a job interview of his. This upsets Akiyama because he feels his friend is heartless, not caring about the people with no destinations who had taken their lives. However, Nobu gets enraged and tells him that poor people like him have problems to deal with and have no time to think about others. He then calls out Akiyama's laziness but privileged life and tells him that he doesn't need to worry about getting a job because his father will help him. Then an angry Nobu leaves. So the next day at school, Nobu is sitting alone as he opens up another rejection letter from a job interview. As he heads back, Akiyama spots him walking towards the train station, but he ignores his former friend and goes home another way. As Akiyama's playing games in his room, he gets a devastating phone call and rushes to the hospital, where he finds Nobu on life support. When he leaves the hospital, he finds two messages from Nobu. In the first voicemail, a weeping Nobu apologizes to him and tells him about another rejection in a job interview. He then adds that he feels like he's not needed anyway in the world and asks him what he should do, ending the first message. In the second voicemail, Nobu tells him that if he was on the train ride with him, he would see that he has no destination. This makes Akiyama realize that his friend had attempted to end his own life as well. In the following days, millions of thoughts are plaguing Akiyama's mind, and he's wondering if he could have changed Nobu's outcome if he had reached out when he saw him heading towards the train station before. Now one day, while Akiyama's on his way home, he sees this girl with no destination from before alive life. Not wanting another person to pass away, he decides to follow the girl. When he boards the train, he tries to stop her, but she gets off at the station and Akiyama continues his chase. However, he soon loses sight of her and anxiously tries to find her. Fortunately, he does find her on a bridge, ready to terminate herself. Akiyama quickly runs towards her and manages to pull her away from danger. The girl gets mad at him for ruining her plans and tells him that no one would even notice that she was gone in this world. Akiyama then grabs her and brings her to the hospital, where Nobu's admitted. He tells her that the guy on this bed is his friend and explains that his friend also thought he wasn't needed in the world, but doesn't realize that he had a friend who cared about him a lot. Akiyama also tells her about his powers and says he saw her without a destination and asks her why she wanted to leave this world. The girl explains how her friends had alienated her after rumors of her flirting with one of their boyfriends surfaced. She was then bullied and insulted by him constantly until she couldn't take it anymore. After hearing her story, Akiyama tells her someone will care if she's gone and tells her to treasure her life. He also tells her to contact him if she ever has any dark thoughts, and he'll try his best to help. The girl agrees to go home that day, and the two get on a train together. Here, Akiyama's delighted when he sees the girl now has a destination. When they alight, Akiyama walks her home, and she thanks him for everything. Shortly after, the girl's parents, who have been worried sick about her, approach him. The father thinks Akiyama had done something to his daughter and immediately punches him. But after explaining, the father apologizes to him and takes his daughter back home. But just before, the girl turns and waves goodbye to Akiyama with a smile on her face. The next morning, Akiyama boards a train again, hoping to help another person with no destination. However, the train suddenly stops and Akiyama falls down once again. When he comes to it, he finds the same man from the first scene helping him up. The man jokes that Akiyama falls off and wonders if he's alright. Surprisingly, he realizes he can no longer see the passengers' destinations, and instead of being disappointed, he's somewhat happy about being normal again. Later, he goes to the hospital, where he updates Nobu on everything going on in school and teases his taste in girls. But suddenly, Nobu wakes up from his coma, and the two friends finally reunite. Days later, Akiyama can be seen dressed sharply in a suit. His parents wonder why he's so dressed up, because there's no interview today. He explains that he's not going for any more of his father's prepared interviews and doesn't want any more handouts from his parents, but instead he wants to pave his own path in life. He thanks his parents, and as he leaves, his father smiles. And the movie ends with an excited Akiyama ready to face what lies ahead. Thank you all for watching. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel for more amazing content.